Hello and welcome to another episode of the YXE Sports Podcast, live from Wendell Clark's Classic Grill and Bar in Saskatoon on the corner of Circle and Idlewild, as we are every single Monday. Happy to have you along on the Wendell Clark's Classic Grill and Bar Facebook page, on the YXE Sports Podcast Facebook page, and also on No YXE. We're on Twitter now, too, which is super cool. Because that's a new venture for us. So we are also on Twitter. So a big hello to everybody that is watching. It is the first episode of November. It's also the first day of November. Of course, Halloween was yesterday, and I had just been absolutely munching on candy all day today, probably all week, and probably all of next week as well. You may have noticed a little bit of less facial hair on my face this week. It is November, which also means mustache month. So I will be growing just the greasiest mustache for the month of November. So for the episodes for the rest of the month, I'm just going to apologize in advance for that. Just a quick reminder to leave your comments, your concerns, your opinions in the comment section, however you're watching, and we will get to them and I will answer them. So if you want to know whatever in the world of sports, you want to know my opinion on something, or if you want me to know your opinion on something, we can absolutely do that by leaving your comments, questions, whatever it is, in the comments section. We're going to get to some previous questions that we've had, or some questions that came in throughout the course of the day. We're going to get to those. We're going to get to those right now, actually. Okay. That's all good, producer Ian. We'll get to that right now. World Series prediction. This comes from Ian from Twitter. Yeah, that's a tough one. Of course, the Atlanta Braves are looking for their first World Series title since 1995, going up against those cheating Houston Astros. Of course, if you don't know the backstory of that, the Houston Astros cheated their way to the 2017 World Series, but whatever, I digress. The Braves had a chance to close it out last night, and they couldn't do it. They hit a grand slam in the bottom of the first inning, so you thought that it was going to be all said and done right there. The Astros climbed their way back. Wendell Clark's Classic Grill and Bar says, go Braves. I would agree. However, the Houston Astros are a good team, and the Atlanta Braves have awarded them new life by the fact that they are going into Game 6. I think that's probably tomorrow night. I'm not 100% sure on that, but there is going to be a Game 6, and the Braves are playing a dangerous game with the Houston Astros because they still do have a lot of offensive firepower, and it doesn't take much for the Astros to get going. That game is back in Houston as well, where they've been phenomenal all playoffs long. So I'm rooting for the Braves. I hope that the Braves can come away with the title, although they have given the Houston Astros new life here. So I'm not sure the Astros obviously have the experience. Now, in the Atlanta Braves front office is former Toronto Blue Jays general manager Alex Anthopoulos. Of course, Anthopoulos orchestrated that 2015 and that 2016 Toronto Blue Jays team that went on those magical runs. So a little bit of a soft spot for Alex Anthopoulos and the rest of the Atlanta Braves in that one. So in terms of a prediction, really could go either way, but my heart wants the Atlanta Braves to win, and that's who I'm cheering for. So that's what's new in the World Series world, in the MLB world. It's hard to believe that it's coming to an end quite quickly here. Next up, what is your favorite Halloween candy? Of course, Halloween was yesterday. I don't know. I want to know what your favorite Halloween candy is. So let me know in the comment section, because mine is probably, honestly, any of them. I've been just absolutely crushing those little packets of M&Ms, the chocolate ones and the peanut ones, the little chocolate bars, the Twix bars are super good, the Snickers bars, and new this year to the Halloween candy repertoire has been those little sour Jolly Rancher things, just covered in sugar, and they're fantastic. And then Jolly Rancher suckers as well. Wendell Clark's Classic Grill and Bar says Thrills Gum. I haven't seen that around since, I still have seen that around, but I didn't know that that's still a thing, is what I mean. I see them at the Dollarama from time to time. They're on for like 87 cents. I can honestly say that I really don't know if I've ever had Thrills Gum. I don't know if anybody has had Thrills Gum since 1998, with the exception of Wendell Clark's Classic Grill and Bar. So maybe that'll give me an excuse to go to Dollarama and try Thrills Gum. But yeah, I'd say any of them. Had a couple of O. Henry bars, the little O. Henry bars throughout the course of the day today as well. So just anything. And then obviously the Maynard's box, the fuzzy peaches, the Swedish berries, and those little fish ones, the Swedish fish, the gummy fish. Those are exceptional as well. So I've been crushing them. The Sour Patch Kids are obviously a favorite. Ian says the peanut butter cups are his favorite. Had a few of the little tiny ones, the Reese's cups so far. So throughout the course of the Halloween season. So that's interesting. Got a question in terms of the World Series from Brian. He wants to know who the MVP of the World Series has been so far. That's a tough one. Freddie Freeman for the Atlanta Braves has been good. Adam Duvall had that grand slam yesterday in the bottom of the first inning for the Atlanta Braves. So that could really go either way if you were going to go with the Atlanta Braves. And if the Atlanta Braves were going to win, I'd probably have to say maybe Freddie Freeman or Adam Duvall. They've both been really, really good for the Braves. Their bullpen has been awesome as well. For the Houston Astros, they've been super good as well. I mean, all the usual suspects, Correa, Bregman, Altuve, they've all been really good for the Houston Astros. They've got the pitching as well. And like I said, the Atlanta Braves are playing a pretty dangerous game here by, not being able to close out the series yesterday, having to play a game 6 in Houston. That very well could lead to a game 7. So that's interesting. That's a good question, too. And I honestly don't know because it could go either way. And I think it really depends on who's going to win. So that's a great question, Brian. And you kind of stumped me on that one because I unfortunately don't have a good answer for you. But if it was me, those would be my picks, Freddie Freeman or Adam Duvall for the Atlanta Braves, who I'm hoping just win so bad. Ian wants to know about that Husky football third quarter on the weekend. So a little bit of backstory here. The University of Saskatchewan Huskies were in Manitoba, in Winnipeg, to take on the Manitoba Bisons in what was a battle for first place. And it wasn't even close. It was a 41-12 win for the Huskies over the Manitoba Bisons. And that means with that win, the University of Saskatchewan Huskies football team has clinched first place in the Canada West. So the road to the Hardy Cup is going to run through Saskatoon, and you're going to have to come into Saskatoon at the end or middle of November to play a game at Griffith Stadium. It was, like I said, a 41-12 win, 23 unanswered points for the Huskies in that third quarter. It was pretty close at halftime. It was 6-3. Then the Huskies scored a late touchdown just before the half with under a minute to go, well under a minute to go. So that made it a 13-3 lead going into half, and then they just exploded out of the gate, left no doubt. So the University of Saskatchewan Huskies have their final regular season game this upcoming Saturday, November 6th. Be there. I will see everybody there because I'll be in the broadcast booth with my old man. They're taking on the Calgary Dinos, and then they're going to be hosting obviously a playoff game. If they win that playoff game, then they'll be hosting the Hardy Cup, the first time the Huskies finished first since 2010. So every other Hardy Cup since 2010 has been played in Calgary. So the Huskies have an opportunity to get back to the Hardy Cup, which they won in 2018 in Calgary, and they have an opportunity to do that on home field as well. Mason Nyes had a 70-yard touchdown pass to Daniel Perry in that game. That was also the first loss for the Manitoba Bisons at home since October 27th, 2018. And there's a pretty good chance now, obviously, they have to get through the first round of the playoffs, but there's a pretty good chance that these two teams could see each other once again, depending on how next week shapes up, because the Manitoba Bisons are probably nothing's obviously set in stone yet, but the Manitoba Bisons are probably going to finish in second spot in the Canada West there. So that one's going to be interesting. But yeah, it's just great to see that the Huskies were able to clinch first for the first time since 2010. Adam wants to know what the Saskatoon Snipers need to do to bring home the ASHL championship. Of course, that is the team that I play for out at the Gemini, or the Snipers. And it's safe to say that we've gone through a little bit of a rebuilding process over the course of the past few seasons. We last won the championship in 2016, and then some guys left, had to make some tough changes. But I really like the makeup of our team this year. I think we have a great opportunity to go back to the championship and win the championship. Our division is ours for the taking. We had a tough loss on Friday. We were up 6-2 and we lost 7-6 in overtime. Tough break for us, I know. But those are the games that you need to win. So maybe that humbled us a little bit. But I really like the makeup of the Saskatoon Snipers this year. And we really do believe that the division is ours for the taking. Thoughts on the first month of the NHL season? This one comes from Nick. Yeah, first month of the NHL season is over and done with. My Toronto Maple Leafs are struggling, but they're starting to figure it out a little bit here, which is good. And I knew that they would. It was only a matter of time. The Florida Panthers didn't have a regulation loss in the month of October. They had one overtime loss, and that was it. The Carolina Hurricanes didn't have a loss at all. 8-0 were the Carolina Hurricanes in the NHL's first month of the season, which is hard to believe. Of course, they added Ethan Bear to their roster, made some interesting choices in net. They brought in Freddie Anderson from Toronto, who struggled in Toronto. But it seems like head coach Rod Brind'Amour is pushing all the right buttons. And I actually had this conversation with a few different buddies over the course of the summer when the Carolina Hurricanes were making some of these interesting moves. And we thought maybe the Hurricanes front office, maybe their ego got to them a little bit, but clearly they knew what they were doing. Obviously, it is a little bit early in the season, but that's tough to say. They are 8-0, so they had a good first month to the season. Adam wants to know, of course, he asked the question about the Saskatoon Snipers. He wants to know if they gave me too much ice time in the third period or what. And yeah, absolutely. I can't even deny that. That's super true. Everybody on the Snipers roster will tell you that they gave me too much ice time in the third period of that one. I'm at the best when I'm on the bench, especially when we have a lead, but that's okay. It's a long season to go, and we have an opportunity to get back into the win column next week. Wendell Clark's Classic Grill and Bar also has a question in regards to the NHL. This is regarding Marc-Andre Fleury. Does he go to Edmonton amongst all the turmoil in Chicago, which we will get to in just a little bit? I don't know. Yeah, that's a tough one. I don't know. Obviously, Stan Bowman, who is the general manager or was the general manager of the Chicago Blackhawks, he stepped down, which we'll get to in just a moment, was the GM that brought in Marc-Andre Fleury and what was a salary cap dump from the Vegas Golden Knights. And there was talk of Fleury retiring when he went to Chicago, but he said, no, I'll play it out. The Chicago Blackhawks have been going through some tough things off the ice, and they haven't won a game yet on the ice either. So if you're Marc-Andre Fleury, maybe you are hoping that you retired. I'm not 100% sure, but yeah, that's a tough spot for Marc-Andre Fleury to be in for the Chicago Blackhawks, and I'm not really sure what the answer is. I don't know if he goes to Edmonton or not, though. The Edmonton Oilers have flown out of the gate here, as they have the past couple of seasons, and we're going to see if the tandem of Mikko Koskinen and Mike Smith can hold up throughout the course of an 82-game season. They're both veterans, right? They both kind of piggyback off one another. I don't know if they can both be bona fide number one starters. I think they both have to pull their weight, and so far throughout the month of October, as it pains me to say, they have done that. So, I don't know. I don't know what Ken Holland has up his sleeve in Edmonton, but if you look at it from the first month of the season, Mike Smith and Mikko Koskinen played pretty well. So I don't know if they necessarily need to go out and get another goalie. And Wendell Clark's, I know that that's not the answer that you were looking for, as you just said that they need to add a goalie. But yeah, I don't know. If I look at the first month of the season, then I would say no. But that's just me. Okay, on to the Chicago Blackhawks, because obviously they were in the news for all the wrong reasons over the course of the past few months. So this is in regards to the Kyle Beach incident / situation. So Richard wants to know what my thoughts are on that. Obviously, if you don't know the story, Kyle Beach was a player on the Chicago Blackhawks back in 2010, and he was sexually assaulted by the video coach of the Chicago Blackhawks. Beach was a 20-year-old player at the time that this happened. Brad Aldrich, the video coach, the accused, was, like I said, a video coach. This all happened when the Chicago Blackhawks also were in the midst of going on a Stanley Cup run in 2010 and winning the Stanley Cup. So the fact that this was all going on and they were able to win a cup is amazing. Now, the coaching staff, the front office, the higher-ups, ownership, all covered it up for the past 11 years, and then this resurfaced back to light. And Kyle Beach brought it to the attention of the Chicago Blackhawks then, back in 2010. Nothing was done about it, so it's resurfaced because it is going through the courts or the court process right now. And yeah, it's it's hard to believe that this was covered up for as long as it would. And what happened was obviously absolutely horrible to Kyle Beach, as he revealed his identity last week with an interview on TSN. And I liked what John Tortorella said, former head coach of the Columbus Blue Jackets. So the head coach at the time of the Chicago Blackhawks, which was Joel Quenneville, he resigned from his position as head coach of the Florida Panthers last week in light of all of this. And John Tortorella, I think, said it best on ESPN last week when he said, how does not one guy, whether it's a coach, whether it's an assistant coach, whether it's a trainer, a GM, an assistant GM, how does one guy not speak up and say, no, this isn't right. We should do something about this. So everybody in the hockey world, in the hockey community, has said what they think. And 99% of the people that were interviewed about this or that, had an opinion on this said, no, it was wrong. It should have been dealt with right then and there. There was one player who wondered, not one player, one executive who remains anonymous, wonders how, a 6'4" hockey player couldn't stand up to, a 5'6" or 5'8" video coach. He later retracted that statement and said that he shouldn't have said that. But just a horrible situation all the way around. And the fact that the Chicago Blackhawks covered it up for as long as they did, I mean, that's amazing in its own right. And kudos and courage to Beach for speaking up. It was obviously revealed, earlier this week of who he was. He, kept his identity private for this whole time, and then finally ended up to reveal itself. And now the Chicago Blackhawks are still going through the court process, basically trying to slander Kyle Beach's name. So they're just not going to give up. But, Brad Aldrich, and this also isn't an isolated incident as well. Brad Aldrich has also spent some time in prison for doing this to a different member of a different hockey organization, not with the Chicago Blackhawks. And how he's not in jail right now is, a complete shock to me. But, I don't obviously get much of a say in that. But it sounds like he is back in his home state of Michigan. He has a startup company that he is currently working with and trying to get off the ground. He did spend some time in prison, but I don't know what to say other than, kudos to Beach for sticking up. And, what he went through was absolutely horrible. Ian wants to know if I'm excited for the Rush season. 100 times yes. You have no idea, Ian, how excited I am to go to the Sasktel Center and just crush beers and cheer on the Saskatchewan Rush. So I'm looking forward to that. The opening weekend of the Rush season is actually only a month away. December 3rd, 4th is face-off weekend. The Rush kick off the season in Halifax. There is also a home New Year's Eve game for the Saskatchewan Rush this year as well. So maybe the YXE Sports Podcast and Wendell Clark's Classic Grill and Bar has to team up for something in regards to that New Year's Eve game. I'm not sure. I'll leave that in the hands of the Wendell Clark's Classic Grill and Bar, but hint, hint, nudge, nudge, wink, wink. But yeah, I am super excited. I'm excited to see the Saskatchewan Rush back in action. Wendell Clark's says, get your tickets and bus passes from Wendell's. Perfect. You have your New Year's Eve plans. You have your rides. You have your after party. Everything, like your New Year's Eve plans are already taken care of thanks to Wendell Clark's Classic Grill and Bar. Ian also wants to know if I have the best production team in the world. Yes, I do, Ian. Thank you. I love you so very much. And I thank you for doing this with me every single Monday. So again, thanks. That we should make a new segment out of this just called Question Period. Because that's awesome, and keep those questions coming in. Of course, we are live at Wendell Clark's Classic Grill and Bars. We are every single Monday night, and we're once again live. And you can come on down to Wendell Clark's Classic Grill and Bar for NFL. We haven't even talked about the NFL yet, but we'll get to a little bit of football talk. But come on down Thursday night, Monday night, Sunday for Wendell Clark's Classic Grill and Bar to watch some NFL. It is the best spot in the city to watch NFL. Super Bowl squares are available each and every time. as well. And that money is going towards a good cause as well. So make sure you get those Super Bowl squares in Wendell Clark's Classic Grill and Bar. So big thanks to everybody for the questions. Hello, Monty. Good to see you. Happy to have you along on this Monday. Richard wants to know if Aldrich's name should be removed from the Stanley Cup. So from what I read, the Chicago Blackhawks ownership group had sent a letter to the Hockey Hall of Fame, where the Stanley Cup resides, asking to remove Aldrich's name from the Stanley Cup. So I'm not sure what's going to come of that. Do I agree? Yeah, honestly, I do agree. I think that I should, I think that he should have his name removed from the Stanley Cup. What I don't agree with is there's some player or some people saying that the entire 2009, 2010 Chicago Blackhawks Cup name, roster, everything, they should just take that ring off the Stanley Cup. That I don't necessarily agree with, because it was the horrible, horrible actions, not discrediting what Brad Aldrich did. I'm not discrediting how horrible those, actions were, but it wasn't the whole team, right? Yes, the coaching staff covered it up. They should be held accountable, and there's rumors going back and forth. Oh, the players knew. Well, what are the players going to do, right? I mean, the players went out and played, and who knows, maybe some of the players did step up, but I don't think that those players should have their names stripped from the Stanley Cup due to the horrible actions of one of the video coaches. A guy like Patrick Kane or Antti Niemi, who was their goalie, or some of these third and fourth line guys who really probably didn't know what was going on. I don't think, those guys' names should be removed from the Stanley Cup. The guys that actually went out and battled and earned the Stanley Cup for the player, or for the people like Brad Aldrich, who doesn't deserve a Stanley Cup. I don't think that their entire roster should be removed from the Stanley Cup. I don't think that that banner should be removed from, the United Center in Chicago or whatever it may be. But yeah, I do think that maybe Brad Aldrich's name should be removed from the Stanley Cup. So we'll see what happens. But I do know that the ownership group for the Chicago Blackhawks did, ask the Hockey Hall of Fame to remove that name from the Stanley Cup. The Saskatchewan Roughriders have clinched the playoff spot. Feels like we haven't talked about the Riders in forever, but the Saskatchewan Roughriders did clinch a playoff berth with a 19-14 win over the Montreal Alouettes on Saturday. Cody Fajardo, he's been in the news past couple of weeks for his play. And a lot of players don't think that it's great, a lot of people, a lot of fans don't think that it's great. He was 14 of 25 for 158 yards. It was an ugly win, but a win's a win. The defense played well. And this is, this is probably going to get me some flack, but I don't know how far the Saskatchewan Roughriders can go playing like they've been playing. Yes, their defense has been lights out, but their offense is kind of stuttering and sputtering a little bit. Cody Fajardo hasn't played his best ball. I don't know if that's necessarily, his fault, but he hasn't been playing his best ball. I don't know how far this Rider team can go, especially because they're in the Western Conference with the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, who, again, pains me to say, but the Blue Bombers only have one loss on the year. I mean, the proof is in the pudding. The Bombers are the team to beat right now in the Canadian Football League. Yes, the defense is great. There is that old mantra of defense wins championships, but I mean, the Saskatchewan Roughriders offense just hasn't looked good these past few weeks. There's been times this season where the defense hasn't looked that good either, right? I mean, they played the Calgary Stampeders 3 games in a row, and they didn't get one win against them up until the last game. It took them 3 cracks at the Stampeders to get one win. The BC Lions, who haven't been that good this year, well, the Riders narrowly beat them a couple weeks back at BC Place. They won on a final minute drive, right? So I don't know how good this Rough Riders team is this year, to be honest. I don't know how far they're going into they're going to go into the playoffs, to be completely honest, either. And I'm a Rough Rider fan, right? I love the Rough Riders. I watch every game. I cheer on the Rough Riders. I go to as many games as I can. Obviously, I want the Rough Riders to go as deep as they can, but I'm also a realist, and I just don't know, with the way that they've played over the course of the past few weeks, how far they're going to go in the playoffs. Now, with that being said, now that the playoff berth is clinched, maybe this gives them an opportunity to work on things over the course of the next few weeks as they get set for the playoffs. They haven't clinched a home playoff berth yet, but they have clinched the playoff spot. But I don't know. I don't know how good the Saskatchewan Roughriders team is. I just mentioned how good the Winnipeg Blue Bombers is. They're the cream of the crop in the CFL. Well, Winnipeg marched right into Saskatchewan on Labor Day win and just hammered on them every which way. And then Saskatchewan goes to Winnipeg the next week for the Banjo Bowl and gets hammered on in the Banjo Bowl as well. So I don't know how good the Saskatchewan Roughrider team is. Obviously, I'm hoping that they go deep. I'm hoping that they can go on a Grey Cup run. But I'm not sure how that's going to go. One more topic, because we haven't given them a lot of love over the past few weeks, but we should. The Saskatoon Blades are on absolute fire right now. They split a weekend series in Alberta. They lost to the Lethbridge Hurricanes on Friday. They bounced back with a 4-2 win against the Medicine Hat Tigers on Saturday. 2 players are in the league's top 3 in scoring as well. Tristan Robbins, who is a San Jose Sharks draft selection, 21 points so far. He actually leads the Western Hockey League in points. Kyle Krenkovic is in 3rd. He has 19 points as well. The Blades are the best Saskatchewan team in the Western Hockey League, 8-2-1 on the year. And I always love doing this. The Prince Albert Raiders are 3-7 on the year as well. So the Blades are atop their number 1 rival. And I love it because the Prince Albert Raiders faithful, and they are faithful, right? The Prince Albert Raiders fans travel very, very well, but the only chirp that the Raiders have on the Saskatoon Blades right now is, oh, you guys only get 500 people out to your games. Ha, ha, ha. Yeah, well, high and mighty talk for a team that is all the way at the bottom of the standings. And that's not true also, because the Saskatoon Blades have got some very good crowds this year as well. And if they're going to keep on winning, they're going to keep on getting crowds as well. Their next game is on Wednesday, and they're also teaming up to send out some healthcare workers to the game on Wednesday as well. I saw that earlier today. So the Blades are doing great things on the ice and great things in the community, because that's what the Saskatoon Blades are all about. They do have a home-and-home series with the Prince Albert Raiders this weekend. It's rivalry weekend. It's going to be a battle. It's going to be fantastic, and I cannot wait to see the results of that one. So go Blades, go, as they are on an absolute roll. And the best thing for the Blades faithful would be to travel to Prince Albert. Get up to the Art Hauser Center in Prince Albert. Show some blue and gold in the Art Hauser Center, and then make sure that you show more blue and gold back at the SaskTel Center this weekend as well. So go Blades, go. They've had a fantastic month of October as well. That wraps things up for this week's edition of the YXE Sports Podcast. So thanks for tagging along. Thanks for all of the questions as well. And we might have a very special guest next week. We were talking about the Saskatchewan Rush, so we are working on getting a guest who is well connected to those Saskatchewan Rush to talk about the upcoming Rush season and just Saskatoon sports in general, because he's very well connected in that regard. So keep your eye on the YXE Sports Podcast social media channels, as we hope to have a guest with us next week at Wendell Clark's. As we're looking forward to that one. Alexander, one final comment from Alexander, and he says, great info. Thanks so much, Alex. Thanks for tagging along with us, and we're going to do the same thing next week, same time, so make sure you tune in. Until next Monday, stay safe.